This is day 2 of the final exam review. The first question, or question number 26, is to graph and label each line of the following system of equations. Here we would first of all find the slope. Which is 2 over 1. The y-intercept is 0, 0. The slope here is negative 1 over 1. The y-intercept is 0, 9. So for this, our y-intercept here is 0, 0. And then I'm going to go up 2 and over 1 each time, up 2 and over 1, up 2 and over 1. I'm also going to make sure I label my y and x axes, putting my arrows on. So then I'm going to go ahead and draw my line. Label it. And my other line starts at 9. And then go down 1 and over 1, down 1 and over 1, down 1 and over 1. And then I can also draw that. And label that. So we can see here that our solution is 3, 6. To check my work, I have y equals 2x. Make sure you write the equation first. 6 equals 2 times 3. 6 equals 6. And we have y equals negative x plus 9. So 6 equals negative 3 plus 9. 6 equals 6. So that takes care of that. Next, we have number 27, which we are solving algebraically. For this one, ladies and gentlemen, what I would do is solve by substitution. I would substitute x in. So for here, I would say 3, and in parentheses, negative y plus 2 minus y equals 10. So we have negative 3y plus 6 minus y equals 10. So I have negative 4y plus 6 equals 10. Subtract 6 from both sides. And I have negative 4y equals 4. Dividing both sides by negative 4. And y equals negative 1. So then substituting that in, I would substitute in x equals negative y plus 2. Since negative 1 is for y, it would be negative 1 plus 2. Well, this negative is like a negative 1, so negative 1 times negative 1 is 1. So 1 plus 2 equals 3. So x is 3, so our solution is 3, negative 1. So to check our work, we have x equals negative y plus 2. And let me switch pencils. I don't like this one. So now I have 3 equals negative 1 plus 2. So 3 equals 1 plus 2. So 3 equals 3. In my next equation, we have 3x minus y equals 10. So we have 3 times 3 minus negative 1 equals 10. So we have 9. Leave, change here, but negative 1 minus 1, negative 1. So leave, change. 9 plus 1 is 10 equals 10 and they both check. Okay, so next. It says describe the rate of change for this particular problem. And our rate of change in this problem would be the rate of change is 55, which means the family travels 55 miles every hour. And it says, what does the y-intercept of this graph represent? The initial value. Well, I wouldn't even say the initial value. I would say the starting point for the family. Where they started their trip. To write the equation of the linear function here would be y equals 55x. This is how many miles are driven after 3 hours. Well, for that one, we have y equals, and let me move this up just a little bit. 55 times 3, which is 165. So they drove 165 miles. This is how would the slope of the line change if the graph was based on miles left to go in the trip instead of miles driven? The slope of the line would be negative. Okay. Next, it says Jeff and Clara were given two linear functions in different views. Oh, let me move that over there. Okay. To compare and explain to their math class for a homework assignment, help Jeff and Clara compare and contrast the two functions they were given for their assignment. Okay. Well, if we notice here, this goes up by 4 each time, and this goes up by 2. So if I go back, this would go back 4 to 0. This would go back 2 to 0. If we notice here, okay, our slope here is 2 because each time we go up 2 and over 1, our y-intercept here, if we come down, we have 4, and we go -4, -5 to -6, but I think it wants to show us it's -5 is where it crosses the y-intercept. It just happens to where the line is crossed, but the dot is on the -5. So we have a slope of 2 and a y-intercept of -5. Okay, so now how are the functions similar? Okay, well, both functions have a slope of 2. Both have a positive slope. How are the functions different? Jeff has a y-intercept of 0, 0. Clara has a y-intercept of 0, -5. Jeff's function is y equals 2x. Clara's function is y equals 2x minus 5. Okay. Next. So solve the equation. Okay. So for this one, when I use the distributive property, I get -10 x minus or plus 50. This is equal to 6x plus 2x minus 4. So now I can put my, combine my like terms. So I have 4x minus 4 equals -10x plus 50. I'm going to add my 10x to both sides. Add 4 to both sides. Divide by 14. And x would equal 3. To check it, sorry about that, guys. All right, so we have 18 plus 6 is 24, minus 4 equals 20, and 20 equals 20. All right, so for this one, we've got 4x minus 12, and here we've got equals 3x plus 6 plus x minus 10. So now we have 4x minus 12 equals, move this up just a little bit, 4x minus 4. So subtract 4x from both sides. And I have -12 equals -4, and it does not equal. So here we have no solution. Here I have 5x minus 10 equals, if I put these together, I have 5x, and here I have minus 10. Well, these two are the same equation here. So here we have an infinite solution. So now number 31 says to draw this sequentially images of triangle QRS after a reflection over the y-axis followed by a dilation of 1/2. Okay, so, and we have to label the images. So first of all, going from QRS, and we have 2, -2, 4, and 2, and 8, -4. Our new points would then be Q prime would be -2, -2. R prime would be -4, 2. S prime would be -8, -4. And just for reviewing, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to use a different color marker here so that you can see this. On the test, you would, if it were to ask you to do something like this on the test, you would simply use your pencil. So we have -2, -2, which would be here. Then we have -4 and 2. And then -8 and -4, which would be here. So when we draw that, we would have this. And it would be labeled Q prime. Up here would be R prime and S prime. Now, to dilate it then, we would have Q prime, because it says followed by. So it would be Q prime, R prime. You've got to watch what the question is asking for. So we have -2, -2, -4, 2, and -8, -4. So multiplying each of these by 1/2, our new point would be -1, -1. Sorry, I'm going to put that Q in there. So my new point would be Q double prime, -1, -1. R double prime would be -2, 1. And S double prime would be -4, -2. So let's put those in. So we have -1, -1. We have -2 and 1. And we have -4, -2. You would have here. You would have here. And you would have here. So you would have Q double prime, R double prime, and S double prime. And that's what that should look like, ladies and gentlemen, right there. Okay? So next, the main mast of the fishing boat, and again I would draw these, is supposed to be a sturdy rope that extends from the top of the mast to the deck. if the mast is 20 feet tall, and the rope attached to the deck is 15 feet away from the base, so it's 15 feet away from the base, how long is the rope? So we've got a squared plus b squared equals c squared, okay? So we have 20 squared plus 15 squared equals x squared. We have 400 plus 225 equals x squared. So we have 625 equals x squared. Take the square root of both of those. So you now have 25 feet. Okay. Next, to simplify the following expressions and express your answers in exponential form. Here what we're going to do is we are going to take 2 to the negative first over 5, 2 to the 5 plus negative 7. So now we're going to have this we're multiplying. So we have 2 to the negative 5 over 2, adding this to the negative 2. So now we're dividing here. So we have 2 to the negative 5 minus negative 2, because we need to subtract, we're dividing. So leave, change, change. Okay. So now let me put my equal signs in here. So now we have 2 to the negative 3. So let me bring that up here. 2 to the negative 3 is 1 over 2 to the third power. Our last question is finding the volume of the cylinder. Our volume is pi r squared h. And rounding our answer to the nearest hundredth. So we have pi. Our radius is 5, so 5 squared. Our height is 10. So next we have pi times 25 times 10. Now that we've squared that, now we can multiply this whole thing out, which should be 785.398. $1,634. Rounding it to the nearest hundredth is 785.40 centimeters cubed. And that ends the review, ladies and gentlemen.